Married at 19 without a choice, she feared him, until his wedding gift silenced the whole town. The church was too small for what was being done to her. Every pew was filled. Every whisper felt sharpened on purpose, like the town had dressed its curiosity in Sunday clothes and come to watch something fragile break politely. 19-year-old Clara Belle Rowan stood at the altar with her hands folded so tightly her fingers had gone numb. The dress wasn't hers. It had belonged to someone else once, someone taller, fuller, loved. The lace at the sleeves was yellowed with age, the waist loose no matter how many pins her aunt had tried to hide beneath the fabric. The hem brushed the floor unevenly, as if even the dress knew it didn't belong to this moment. The bouquet in her hands, wild daisies and prairie sage, was already wilting. She counted the floorboards between her and the door. Well, she could make it in 12 steps. Her heart beat faster at the thought. But she didn't move, because the whole town of Red Willow had come to see her married. Not out of joy, out of interest, out of judgment, out of certainty that a girl like Clara, poor, quiet, fatherless in all but name, should be grateful for whatever mercy was offered. The man waiting across from her didn't look at her the way she expected. Elias Crow stood tall and still, his hat held respectfully in both hands, dark hair neatly combed, shoulders broad beneath a simple black coat. He was the wealthiest landowner within 3 counties. A man whose name carried weight the way iron carried cold. She had imagined arrogance, cold satisfaction, ownership. Instead, when she dared lift her eyes, she found only stillness. Not kindness, not cruelty. Just a calm so steady it unsettled her more than anger would have. Her father's place beside her was empty. He couldn't bear to stand there. Couldn't bear to watch the debt he'd failed to outrun finally take something precious with it. The bank had come in early spring. Drought had come before that. The offer had come last. A marriage contract. Her father's land spared. Her hand exchanged. The minister cleared his throat. The sound echoed too loudly. Clara Belle Rowan, he began, voice solemn, practiced. Do you take this man? Her chest tightened. The words blurred together, but she knew what came next would seal her life into something she hadn't chosen. She swallowed. Her throat burned. I do, she said. Her voice cracked like ice on a river that wasn't frozen enough. The minister turned. And do you, Elias Crow? I will. The words fell heavy. Not I do. I will. Clara's head snapped up. Elias didn't look at her. His gaze stayed forward, jaw set, expression unreadable. A ripple passed through the pews. The minister hesitated, then recovered. I now pronounce you husband and wife. The words settled into Clara's chest like stones. Elias offered his arm. She stared at it. 1 heartbeat. 2, 3. Then she placed her gloved hand lightly against his sleeve. His arm was warm, solid. But he didn't tighten his grip. Didn't claim. He only steadied her, guiding rather than pulling. Outside, the autumn wind cut sharp across her cheeks as they stepped into the daylight. Red Willow stared openly. Some eyes held pity. Some held envy. Some held satisfaction. Elias helped her into the wagon with careful hands, stepping back the moment she flinched. He didn't touch her again. As he gathered the reins, his voice came low and even. Name's Elias, he said. Reckon you already know that. She nodded. She didn't trust her voice. You all right, Miss Rowan? Her mouth opened, then closed. It's Mrs. Crow now, she said finally. The name tasted strange. He clicked the reins gently. Only if you want it to be. She looked at him, startled. But the wagon was already moving, wheels crunching against gravel, the church shrinking behind them. They rode in silence. The land opened wide around them, fields stretching long and quiet, hills rolling into distance, sky pale and endless. Elias's ranch rose from the valley like something unreal. A broad house with deep porches and tall windows catching the last gold of the afternoon sun. Smoke curled from the chimney. It looked warm. It looked safe. Clara felt neither. Inside, the house smelled of coffee and wood smoke. Everything was clean, orderly, thoughtfully made. Elias showed her the kitchen, the pantry, the sitting room with its wide hearth. His movements were unhurried, confident, like a man used to space and responsibility. At the top of the stairs he opened a door. This is your room. She stepped inside. A quilt in blue and cream lay neatly folded on the bed. A washstand stood near the window. A rocker sat in the corner, worn smooth with use. Then she saw the lock. On the inside of the door. Elias noticed her gaze. You can use it, he said simply. I won't knock unless you ask me to. Her breath caught. No man who bought a bride would offer her a lock. Do you understand? He asked. Yes, she whispered. He nodded once and stepped back. There's supper if you're hungry. He left without waiting. Clara locked the door and sat on the edge of the bed, hands trembling. She didn't cry. She stared at the fading light and wondered if she had married a stranger, or something far more complicated. Downstairs, Elias ate alone. 2 plates sat on the table. He didn't touch hers. Later, he wrapped warm bread in clean cloth and set it outside her door. He didn't knock. In the morning, the bread was still warm. She ate it slowly, unsure what to do with kindness that asked for nothing. Downstairs, voices drifted up. Town's already talkin', the ranch hand muttered. Town can talk, Elias replied calmly. They say you got yourself a bargain. She's not a bargain, Elias said, firm and final. She's my wife. Clara pressed her hand to the door. Something in his voice felt solid. Protective. Real. That evening, fresh soup waited on the stove. Unspoken. Unclaimed. 3 days passed like that. Careful. Quiet. On the 4th morning, Clara entered the kitchen to find Elias seated at the table, ledger open, coffee steaming. He looked up. Morning. She froze. Morning, she said softly. It was the first word she'd spoken to him since the wedding. Something shifted. Small. No. She sat across from him, hands wrapped around her cup. The silence wasn't sharp anymore. Finally, she asked the question that had been burning since the altar. Why did you agree to marry me? Elias set down his pen. A man came to me, he said. Said your family needed help. Said it would benefit us both. She lowered her eyes. You didn't know I had no choice. He stilled. No, he said quietly. I didn't. So she told him. Everything. The debt. The bank. Her father's shame. When she finished, Elias sat silent for a long moment. I'm sorry, he said. She looked up, surprised. I thought it was practical, he continued. I never meant to trap you. You still married me. I did, he said. And I meant what I said. You're my wife. But that doesn't mean I own you. The words settled deep. A knock came at the door. An envelope. Elias read it once and tossed it into the fire. What was it? Clara asked. A welcome reception, he said. We're not going. We should. No, he said calmly. I'll handle the town. That night she left her bedroom door open, just a crack. He noticed. He didn't comment. In the morning the bread was warm again. Subscribe to the channel now so you don't miss the moment when silence becomes loyalty, and loyalty becomes love. The 5th morning dawned cold and clear, the kind of morning that made sound carry. Clara woke before the sun, listening. The house breathed differently than her father's had, steadier, deeper. Wood settling. A distant kettle. Boots crossing the kitchen floor with the quiet assurance of someone who didn't rush because nothing chased him. She sat up, pulling the quilt tighter around her shoulders. For the first time since the wedding, she wasn't afraid of what the day might bring. She didn't know what to call that feeling yet. Downstairs, Elias was already dressed, sleeves rolled once, coffee poured but untouched. He looked up when she entered. You're up early, he said. So are you. He huffed softly. Habit. She took a seat at the table, careful not to crowd him. For a moment, neither spoke. Then he slid a small plate toward her. Toast. Honey. Butter. Figured you'd eat better if it wasn't soup again, he said. A corner of her mouth lifted before she could stop it. Thank you. He nodded like it was nothing. But she noticed something then. He'd sat farther away than necessary. Not avoidance. Consideration. After breakfast, she hovered awkwardly near the sink, unsure what was expected of her. I can help, she said. He looked up from rinsing his cup. You don't have to. I want to. That gave him pause. He stepped aside. All right then. You can dry. They worked in silence until she knocked the cup against the counter. Shattered. Clara froze, heart leaping. I'm sorry. Elias crouched immediately, steady and calm. Don't move. He gathered the pieces himself, bare hands careful, precise. When he straightened, he met her eyes. Dishes break, he said. People don't. Something loosened in her chest. Later that morning she wandered the porch, arms wrapped tight as the wind picked up. You'll catch cold standing there, Elias said from behind her. She startled. I'm fine. He handed her his coat. She stared at it. You'll be cold. I've been cold before. That made her laugh, a soft sound that surprised them both. He paused. Then smiled. Just barely. By midday, the ranch hands had returned from the south pasture. Silas tipped his hat when he saw her. Ma'am? She nodded, unsure. Elias noticed. They answer to me, he said quietly. You don't owe them anything. I know, she said. But it helped to hear. 2 days later, Elias asked, You ever ridden? She shook her head. I could teach you. She hesitated. I don't want to be a bother. He frowned slightly. You're not. That afternoon, he brought out a gentle mare with a white blaze down her nose. This is Willow, he said. She's smarter than me and less stubborn. Clara raised a brow. That sounds unlikely. His lips twitched. He showed her how to mount, hands steady on the reins, careful where he placed his own. When Willow shifted, Clara yelped. Elias caught the saddle with one hand. I've got you, he said. And she believed him. By the third lap, she was smiling openly. By the fifth, she was laughing. That's it, he said. You're doing fine. Don't sound so surprised. I'm not surprised, he said. I'm impressed. Her cheeks warmed. The town came for them on Wednesday. They always did. The general store went quiet when they entered. Eyes followed. Whispers slithered. A woman near the counter murmured loudly, Must be nice to sell yourself into comfort. Clara stiffened. Elias stepped forward, calm as stone. If you've got something to say, he said evenly, say it to me. The woman flushed and turned away. Outside, a drunk rancher laughed. How much did she cost you, Crow? Elias's gaze sharpened. That's enough, he said. The man took one look and backed off. In the wagon, Clara stared straight ahead. I'm sorry, she said. For what? For all of it. Elias flicked the reins gently. They talk before you. They'll talk after. Doesn't change what's true. And what's true? He glanced at her. You're safe. Her breath caught. That night, she dreamed of open fields instead of closed doors. The following Sunday, she faced the church women alone. Elias had offered to come. She shook her head. This one's mine. Inside the parlor, smiles sharpened quickly. Mrs. Dalton leaned close. How does it feel to be bought? The room went still. Clara straightened. My father was desperate, she said. Elias gave us time. That's more mercy than most. Mrs. Dalton sniffed. Men don't give mercy for free. No, Clara said calmly. They give it because they can. She left without waiting. At home, Elias found her on the porch, hands trembling but eyes steady. What happened? She told him. His jaw tightened. They won't speak to you like that again. You can't control them. No, he said. But I can make sure they hear me. That night, she packed a small bag. By dawn, she hadn't left. Elias found her in the kitchen, letter folded but unread. Why do I feel trapped? She asked. By me. By wanting to stay. He stepped closer. Then choose. If I stay, then we face the world together. She unpacked the bag. I choose you. Relief washed over his face. Then let me do something for you, he said. For us. Subscribe now so you don't miss the moment dignity becomes love, and love becomes unbreakable. Winter arrived early that year. Not with drama but with certainty. The kind of cold that crept into bones slowly like it meant to stay. Frost traced the windows each morning, and the ranch woke under a pale sky that looked clean and unforgiving at the same time. Clara learned the rhythm of the house by heart. She learned which floorboard creaked near the stair, which kettle sang too loud when left unattended, which mornings Elias drank his coffee black and which mornings he added cream without thinking. They didn't speak much about what they were becoming. They didn't need to. Some things grew better when left unnamed. On Tuesday evenings she baked bread. On Thursdays she helped Silas tally feed inventory. On Sundays she walked the fence line with Elias, her boots crunching beside his, the space between them easy now, no longer cautious, not yet intimate. Safe. That word followed her like warmth. One night a snowstorm rolled in fast. Wind rattled the shutters and the fire snapped sharply in the hearth. Clara sat mending a tear in one of Elias's work shirts when the needle slipped and pricked her finger. She hissed softly. Elias looked up instantly. You all right? She nodded, sucking the drop of blood away. It's fine. He crossed the room without thinking, took her hand gently, inspected the tiny wound like it mattered. You sure? He asked. Yes, she said. Then, softer, thank you for caring. He didn't let go right away. Neither did she. That night she left her door open all the way. He noticed. Still didn't cross the threshold. The town, however, did not soften with the season. If anything, the cold sharpened it. Whispers followed Clara when she went into Red Willow alone. Glances lingered too long. Smiles stayed tight. One afternoon, she overheard two women speaking just behind her in the dry goods store. "She'll leave him once she's bled him dry," one said. "Girls like that always do." Clara didn't turn around. She paid for her flour and walked out with her head high. But her hands shook all the way home. That evening, Elias found her sitting on the porch steps, staring out at the snow-dusted pasture. "You're quiet," he said. "I always am. Not like this." She hesitated, then told him. Every word. Every cruelty dressed as concern. When she finished, Elias sat beside her, elbows on his knees, breath steady in the cold. "They're wrong," he said simply. "I know," she replied. "But knowing doesn't stop it from hurting." "No," he agreed. "It doesn't." She glanced at him. "Why does it bother you so much?" His jaw tightened. "Because they're questioning something that was never theirs to judge." "Me?" "Us," he corrected gently. That night, she dreamed of standing alone in the church again, until a hand found hers. She woke with her heart racing, and clarity settling deep. The letter came on a Friday. Cream-colored paper. Heavy seal. Elias read it once, expression unreadable, then folded it carefully. "What is it?" Clara asked. "Church council," he said. "They want us present Sunday." Her stomach tightened. "For what?" "Clarification," he replied dryly. She let out a small laugh that held no humor. "That sounds promising." He studied her. "We don't have to go." She shook her head. "Yes, we do." He didn't argue. Sunday dawned bright and sharp, sunlight glinting off snow like a warning. The church was full before the bells finished ringing. Every pew, every aisle. Red Willow had gathered. Not for prayer. For judgment. Clara sat beside Elias in the front row, hands folded tightly in her lap. He sat relaxed, shoulders squared, gaze calm. When Reverend Hale stepped forward, his voice wavered slightly. "We are here," he began, "to address concerns raised by the congregation regarding the nature of this marriage." A murmur rippled. Clara's pulse thundered in her ears. Elias rose. "Before you continue," he said evenly, "I'd like to speak." Surprise flickered across the room. Reverend Hale nodded uncertainly. Elias stepped forward, removing his hat. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "Most of you believe my wife was bought," he said. "That I took advantage of desperation." A few people shifted uncomfortably. "You are wrong." Silence followed. "I paid a debt," Elias continued, "to give a family time. Not ownership. Not obedience." He reached into his coat and withdrew a folded document. "This," he said, holding it up, "is the deed to the eastern parcel of my land. 180 acres. Water rights included." Gasps echoed. "As of yesterday," he said, "it belongs to Clara Crow. Solely." Clara's breath left her in a rush. Her head snapped toward him. He didn't look at her yet. "She may sell it," Elias went on. "Work it. Or walk away from it, and from me if she chooses." Whispers exploded. "No one," he said firmly, "owns her." He turned then. Met her eyes. And for the first time since the altar, fear crossed his face. Not of the town. Of losing her. Clara stood. Her legs trembled, but her voice did not. "I came here with nothing," she said. "Not even choice." She looked around the church. "This man gave me dignity before he gave me comfort. Freedom before affection." Her gaze softened as it returned to Elias. "And today I choose him. Not because I must, but because I want to." The room held its breath. Then Mrs. Porter, the oldest woman in Red Willow, rose slowly from her pew. "I was wrong," she said clearly. "About both of you." One by one heads nodded. Not all. But enough. Outside the winter air felt lighter. As they stepped into the sunlight, Clara turned to Elias, eyes shining. "You gave me land," she whispered. "I gave you freedom," he replied. "What you do with it is yours." She kissed his cheek, soft, unclaimed, sure. "Thank you." Spring came early. The snow melted in quiet surrender, and green pushed through soil that had seemed dead only weeks before. Clara planted apple saplings along the edge of her land. Elias joined her, sleeves rolled, hands deep in dirt. "These won't bear fruit for years," he said. She smiled. "That's fine." "You planning to wait that long?" "I'm planning to stay." He nodded once, pride warm in his eyes. That evening they sat by the fire, shoulders touching, silence comfortable. "Elias," she said. "Yes." "You ever regret marrying me?" He shook his head. "Every life has regret. You're not one of them." She leaned into him fully for the first time. The house held them. The land waited. The future, unrushed, unafraid, opened quietly before them. If this story made you feel safe, if it made you believe in quiet love, if you stayed because it felt real, then you belong here. Subscribe to the channel for more stories where dignity comes before desire, and love is something earned, not taken. This isn't the last story like this, but it might be the first one that stayed with you.